Welcome to Reignite. I am not MJ Bradley.
And I'm not Matt Storm.
But we are actually Addie Thomas.
And Ben Milton.
Yep, we're normally the hosts of Certain Point of View.
April Fool.
Yay, we're taking over.
At least just for this episode.
Just for this week. If you're worried that you're losing MJ and Matt, don't worry. They're going to be back next time. So those two really like self-important, self-aggrandizing, extra gassy guys.
They were kind enough to let us slide into this show.
Yeah, just this time. Yeah. So here's the funny thing with us hosting Reignite. We've never
either one of us are Mass Effect players.
I mean, I've always thought it's a cool looking game.
Heard good things.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. And we are sort of roundabout fans of the Bioware style of storytelling.
Yeah.
Through the Star Wars The Old Republic MMO.
Yes.
We're Star Wars fans, first and foremost, and we are also big-time MMO players as well.
Yep.
So you'll also have to forgive us because we did not play the original Knights of the Old Republic or the sequel as well. But we have played the MMO, which is the third in the series, and the currently existing entry in the series. And I also hear is expecting an expansion in the near future.
Oh.
That is supposedly going to be announced at Star Wars Celebration.
Oh, I'm very excited because I just renewed my subscription.
Of course you did.
I love that game.
It's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game. I won't sully its good name.
No, there's no reason to. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have the subscriber base that it once used to, but most games don't over time.
MMOs are not quite in the heyday that they once were.
Yeah, and that one came at the tail end of that heyday.
Yeah,
it came right at the peak tail end, and was like
there were a couple MMOs after it that also did okay, but yeah, it was definitely It was towards the end of that run. But I do want to remind you guys though that you can check out other podcasts that are part of the Certain Point of View family of podcasts. Of course, there's our podcast, Certain Point of View, which Matt lovingly describes as a sometimes Star Wars podcast.
And that is honestly the most accurate description.
To the point where we've just taken that on as our tagline.
Yeah.
The sometimes Star Wars podcast. So thank you, Matt. So we love talking Star Wars. Every now and then we'll talk whatever tickles our fancy in the nerd world. Most recently we just did an episode of Wherever the Wind Took Us in whatever's happening in our life, really, not just nerd stuff, to be honest.
Well, our life revolves around nerd stuff.
It is. We are nerds. So,
yeah.
As many of us on in the Certain Point of View family are. So, and we love talking movies. We love talking superheroes and comics. We love talking sci-fi. And so, we are probably the kind of people who should play Mass Effect, especially because we like that morality sort of decision making, and that's the story of that's one of our favorite parts of the Old Republic, and having that with like a dark side and light side system. With that is so integral to the Star Wars experience. Mm-hmm. Like it just translates perfectly into that gameplay. And also into the fantasy of living in the Star Wars universe as well. So we're gonna just kind of share some of our memories because we are founders. Star Wars, the Old Republic founders.
From opening day, yeah.
We were there from opening day. We bought like the most premium package that we could out there. We were on from day one.
Super into it.
Yeah, super into it. And we played for a good while, too, that initial run. We've come back at different times. We didn't get into Endgame necessarily, but we loved the story, particularly the 1 to 50 player experiences, the class storyline in particular. And man, that was such a good time.
That breathed life back into MMOs for me. Because we've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft at that time too.
Yeah.
And World of Warcraft at that time was not a great storytelling game.
It got a little stale at that point. Yeah.
It got hard to follow, and they were still experimenting with how to use all the tools in their bag, right. and we're still developing some tools in their bag to tell a coherent story.
Since then, they've definitely improved.
They've really, really improved.
Yeah.
So having the ability of like a coherent story that you felt a part of, that your character felt integral to, and having so many of them. I mean, that's one of the things I loved about this game was just that, yes, I mean, like, there's a lot of games out there with good stories, but once you've played that story, sometimes you just don't want to play it again.
Well, it was nice having an MMO experience, being able to play with our friends. I think for us, social gaming is a big deal for us.
Huge, yeah.
Because like I like my Arkham Asylums. I like single player games, fine, but they don't attract me as much because I like the social experience of gaming. There's something about couch co-op and online gameplay with a group of friends, not just like running into a battlefield by yourself and with total strangers, like
a PUBG.
Yeah, but
or
like
Fortnite.
I guess even with PUBG you can run in with a group. Like if you with those, when you have a group, if you have like your 4 or 5 man group,
right? It's a little more interesting.
Yeah, like I like having those bonds and making new friendships as well is great in that arena as well. But it usually starts with that core group of friends and extends kind of out of it.
Right.
So I like that's one of the things that I love about MMOs and why I still play MMOs today, because I've never quite gotten that experience in a MOBA,
right.
or even in a shooter. There's something that lends itself better to that an MMO just lends itself better to that social gaming experience, because there's so many activities to do within the game that even if you don't necessarily feel like doing the same activity at the same time, like you can get in voice chat, 2 people can get in voice chat while one person's doing a quest and another person's doing a dungeon, and you can still have that shared experience and that shared memory and the conversation. And then when you are running together, you have that sort of like you're in the trenches, the bonds being created. So
right, the activity. Well, one of the things that I loved about the Star Wars MMO is part of that was the decision-making processes that you would have along the way, and how they would just RNG which person in the group got to make the decision.
You're doing a roll, basically.
Yeah, and that Matt and I we started to do a run through a couple weeks ago, and we were playing, and it was the most fun. Like, because we were role playing it, like we were literally role playing. Like, what kind of character are you? Like, who? Like, what? What kind of decision are you going to be making? And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do this, and he's like, well, I'm going to do the exact opposite,
right?
And let's see what happens. And it was so much fun, because he beat me on so many rolls. It was so frustrating because I'm like, that's not what I want to do. That's not how I want to respond to this situation. And it was so much fun. I love that part of the game. I thought that was honestly that I in many ways, because of that, Star Wars it will always be my favorite MMO.
Yeah.
Like that aspect of the game, the decision-making process and the social, and adding the social element to that decision-making process, taking it that next step further. That's my favorite every time.
Yeah.
Every time I play that game, I love that. I'm like, I just want to do these quests with people.
Yeah.
Like, it works very, very well as a single player game. You can play that as a single player game. They've changed a lot of stuff to make it a single player game.
A lot of that for me devolved into it becoming a single player game. In some ways, and this is where I felt the game was a bit flawed. There were a lot of times where I'd be like, okay, I got to jump out of voice chat for a bit because I really want to pay attention to this story.
Right.
And like all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm doing this by myself and I'm not wanting to play with other people or have that conversation because I want to pay attention to this really rich and interesting story and appreciate the dialogue and all the effort that they put into it as well. So like that was my one fault with it, is it hurt a little bit of what I enjoy
Immersion.
about the social aspects of gaming. But it was only because of its immersion, which is a great thing.
Yeah,
so
good.
So it was still a fantastic
catch-22.
Yeah, it was still a fantastic experience. But it's why WoW still holds true still holds as my favorite MMO, just because there's so much of that I'm able to do.
Well, they finally really mastered that storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah,
and have brought back a lot of the community aspect of the game.
Right.
It started to really kind of drift apart, and guilds were breaking up left and right because there was really no reason to be in a guild anymore.
Right.
So they've fixed started to fix a lot of those problems in this expansion. What my favorite memory though of this game is
Tatooine.
Is Tatooine, and is playing with you guys. You and I worked together along with our friend J. Mike and Gene. We were all friends and we were all playing together, having a great time.
Somehow after this, we're all still friends.
Still friends. Still friends, although J. Mike has never forgiven me for it.
He shouldn't.
He shouldn't. This is so good. He worked for you. He was your assistant at the time. And we were playing, and I had been leveling a Imperial agent. Yeah. Thank you. I can never remember that class name for whatever reason, which is basically a rogue class. So you can go invisible and just kill people. I told J. Mike I was having problems on my, not Imperial there, the Jedi side, the Republic side.
Yeah.
Character on Tatooine with a quest, and I needed his help. When I got home, I was leaving work. I was going to go home, log in. Could he log in and help me with a quest?
Yeah. And here's the thing. You didn't just set this up like in one day. You had set this up even in the previous day and mentioned, I need help with this quest. So
right. Yeah. I was laying breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
For at least an extra day. Yeah. It might have been longer. And I had been leveling this other character on the side to get this to work. So he logs in, and Addie's with you lived with me at the time, so you could tell me where he was. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just going to hang out here. And I was like, okay, well, meet me at this cave entrance. And I gave him the coordinates on the map. And he did question. I remember now. He questioned it, and he was like, hey, like, how comes I don't see you on my group? Like, add me as a party member or whatever. I was like, just get here. We'll take care of it when we all get into the instance. So he shows up, just completely blind to what's about to happen to him. He starts walking over to the cave. I'm invisible. I sneak up behind him, but I just gank the devil out of him. He's trying to jump into the instance, but it won't let him. It won't let him because you're not allowed to go in and when you're in combat. And I just killed him, and then I danced on his body. And, it was so much fun. He's never forgiven me.
Yeah.
Never forgiven me.
He shouldn't.
Oh, it felt so good.
But it was also fantastic.
Oh, it felt so good.
It was beautiful. The fact that
that took a long time to set up.
It did. But it was amazing.
He was so mad.
I don't know how he's ever trusted you with anything since then.
He hasn't. He hasn't. If you not to this day, I could be like, "Hey, J. Mike," like he'd be like, "Oh, I'm about to drop this. Oh, hey, J. Mike, I'll take it for." No, I won't.
Never again.
You hurt me too bad.
Oh man, there were so many fun times.
You laughed so hard when that happened.
I did. I remember watching it happen. It was so beautiful.
We celebrated all night long about that. That was fantastic. And that's the beauty of what good storytelling and good gaming can give you.
Yeah.
Like, we'll always have that memory. I'll take that memory to my deathbed. To my deathbed. I'll be like, remember the time on Tatooine? That was amazing. I'll never top that.
Yeah.
I peaked. I'm like a kid in high school who peaks in high school football.
That's it, guys. That's it. That's my greatest achievement.
37-year-old man playing video games.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow. Yeah, that was crazy. That was so good. Yeah, that's right. That was a job ago at least for me. So that's some time ago.
It's been some time.
Yeah,
it's been some time.
Damn. Wow. So here's an interesting thing. With the Bioware style of storytelling, do you think you revealed anything to yourself while you played through this game with sort of the morality storytelling, or do you think you just kind of committed to? This is my character type, and this is what my character would do.
Yes.
To both.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first playthrough was more of like, what would I do?
Yeah.
The second playthrough was, I'm going to go hard Sith on everything. I'm going to go dark side everything. Every opportunity I get to dark side, I'm going to dark side this. Because the game penalized you for being middle of the road.
Right.
Because there was like really good gear, really good stuff for either having like
being more on the extremes, yeah,
and very dualistic. So you almost had to if you really wanted to play seriously.
Yeah.
But it was more fun it's more fun for me to make the
middle of the road.
Yeah, to make my own choices.
Yeah.
What would I do in that situation?
Yeah. My first playthrough, because technically my first tune was a smuggler, but the one that I actually first took to max level was my trooper. That was an absolutely amazing experience. What's funny is I actually have done more non-Force users in that game than Force users, because I'm always fascinated by being a non-Force user in the Star Wars universe. It seems like a very easy decision to just go with, oh yeah, I'm a Jedi, I got powers, or a Sith, I got powers, and they're absolutely cool powers. Don't get me wrong, I played a Sith Inquisitor, and I had a blast, I like my range damage classes and my healers, so it was perfect for me. But my trooper was sort of a very interesting experience. It was I don't know, there were times where I guess I played it very lawful good, but there was definitely certain times where I would make a difficult decision that would end up being a dark side decision, because I felt like that's where the loyalty and following orders
bite you in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up as time went on doing more what I think I would do. So which was very interesting and revealing as to what I thought was important and what was the right thing. Cause
what did you learn?
Who knows? No,
nothing. I learned nothing.
I learned nothing at all. No.
Being bad is good,
right? I think it's very interesting to see what is perceived as light side sometimes, by certain people's morality, and maybe this is because this is part of the Star Wars system, and attachment is a negative thing. But sometimes I would do things for attachment that would end up getting dark side points, because it was sort of oh, well, this relationship is important to this character. I've got to do that and support this relationship, especially when the companion stories were involved.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like I got to make sure, okay, this character is going through this at a certain time. As this character's commander, I want to support this character. Sometimes I would be more at odds with that particular character.
Yeah, we have very different leadership styles.
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, granted, when it was a Sith, it was definitely more just, you're going to
get in line.
Yeah, exactly. You're definitely getting in line. I mean, Kem Val needed to get in line.
No, yeah, he does.
Yeah, he was getting a little sassy. Although it was fun when different personalities got into his body. That was a blast. The Inquisitor storyline was a lot of fun too. But I would say that the bounty hunter and the trooper were my favorites for sure. The bounty hunter, I played him a little bit more ruthless, but there was a heart of gold somewhere deep inside. And it was funny with his more human relationships. He was a little bit more rough, but once he got that Jawa, man.
How do you not love a Jawa?
Right? Stole my heart. Oh, but
it's the best friend you never had.
Right? But yeah, I think that was one of the things that's so cool about that. And Star Wars in general is so defined by the way you value your relationships and how that affects you and the decisions you make. So honestly, that Bioware style of storytelling is so perfect for Star Wars.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'm excited that we're still getting more content from them.
Yeah.
That universe.
For sure. I'd love for them to add more to the class stories, to different class
bring that
stories.
Back a little bit.
Yeah, give the class identity a little bit more of a push rather than a big story where hey, we got to stop this big bad guy who has this holocron who's going to destroy everything.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it has its place. They're fine stories, but you can get into a little bit of a trap, I think, with those stories. The replayability isn't there for me as much. I don't have a lot of incentive to want to play that on another character again. But it is what it is. So You also got to understand how much money they really have to work with.
Right.
And
that budget got cut big time.
Big time. I mean, they put a lot of money in on that on launch. I mean, they hired some big names to voice those characters too. So.
The production of that game is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
For sure. I mean, there's so many quests, like little quests scattered all over the place that I've never done, even in the 1 to 50 experience.
They've taken a bunch out that I haven't done. Like all the holocrons aren't there anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, that was part of the game that I liked too. The puzzle finding for the holocrons was really cool. But yeah, they got rid of all that.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Oh, man, there's so much that's missing from that. Ah, well, that's sad. It's sort of a sad tale for this game because it had such a promising future, and it
was just a little late to the dance.
Yeah.
And it didn't have anything. It didn't have anything new to offer.
It took a long time for them to add new stuff to it as well, and that's such an important aspect of MMOs. In some ways, they probably could have held back some of their content and just
done a 1 through 30.
Yeah, and
give them some breathing room.
Yeah, and maybe we had 3 acts to each of those characters, like maybe holding off a little bit before you release some of that. So, but it is what it is. So
lesson learned. Yeah. Lesson learned. It's still a great game. If you're a big fan of Mass Effect and you haven't played it, I recommend it.
Yeah,
it's so much fun
for sure. So we're gonna wrap it up because there's only so
actually
much.
if you are gonna do it. Jump on our Discord server, which you can find at our website, and let us know, and we'll play with you. I'll definitely play with you. I'm always looking for people to play with in that game.
Yeah, Ben's definitely on. He's subscribed, so if you want to join in on that, you can definitely do that. Just message him to just tag Old Ben on our Discord server. You can check out, if you're not on Discord with us, you can check it out by just going to our website, certainpov.com, where you can also check out all of our other podcasts.
Including this one.
Yeah, and our podcast, Certain Point of View. So all of that, again, on our website, certainpov.com. And until next time, stay scruffy, my nerf herder.
I guess.
Yeah, because
feels weird, right?
I know this is someone else's podcast, but we did a Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
So stay scruffy.
This is more Star Wars than our podcast was.
Yeah, this week at least. Yeah. So stay scruffy, my nerf herder. Yeah.
Technology is ever evolving. It touches every part of our lives, both influencing and being influenced by society. I'm Ian Arbuck, and I know it's hard to stay on top of everything you need to know to live in this digital world. That's why, every month on The Extra Dimension, we explore a different aspect of the technological convergence. Find it on our website, thenexus.tv, or by searching for The Extra Dimension in your favorite podcast player.